Welcome back to Market on Close. It's now time for Options Corner. For that, we'll welcome in Rick Ducat. He's our lead market technician here on the Schwab Network. Rick, our focus is PayPal today. Seaport Research upgraded those shares from neutral to sell. Now, I know you're watching some of the technicals, but you also have some technicals on financial sectors and financial services overall, because we're about to hear from the big banks tomorrow.
Right. And, it's a week where financials will be in focus. We kind of just talked about the big banks. I wanted to take a different spin on things. I couldn't help but notice today, as I was looking through our news digest this morning, there were several other upgrades in the financial sector in different types of companies: PayPal, MasterCard, Ally, Synchrony Financial, another company, ticker PAY, basically a lot of transaction and payment processing companies. So it was kind of across the board, not really a general major theme, but interesting nonetheless. And if we do look at our first chart, a comparison of some of these aspects of the financial sector, we can see, just starting at the bottom, S&P 500 up like 11% here. Then we have the banks, KBE, up about 16.5%. So then iPay, that's an ETF that's more about the payment and transaction. That's pretty much in line with the broader XLF sector here. So I thought it was very curious that such a sector that has seen such strength versus the overall market, these two areas were underperforming their own XLF sector. IAI, that ticker at the top, that's the broker-dealer exchange ETF here. So that's accounting for maybe some of the outsized gains that we're seeing across this sector here. Just kind of food for thought, because it seems like much of the concern has been over these stocks being too overvalued in some cases. So if we were to look quickly at an XLF chart here, a 6-month, 1-day chart, we can see that we've had a push up to the upside here. We've broken above a series of old highs that we saw there, 52.25, our green line there. And so far, we're hanging on to that old supportive area here. So a key level to watch as we go through this week and consider, the earnings from these big companies.
And, we've certainly talking a lot about these earnings, anticipating a lot about these earnings. But like you said, it's not just about big banks right now. PayPal got those upgrades. We saw a lot of these other financial service related and adjacent companies there. What's happening with PayPal today? What sort of trends are you observing with them, and as well as the options activity?
Right. So when we look at PayPal, it's a story of slowing momentum to me, because we have a trend line that begins with those April lows when we had all those tariff announcements. It was a very important low point for so very many stocks here. In this case, we did have a rally and a recovery here that took us above our moving averages that we follow, our 3 exponential moving averages, 2163, 252 day, also above our volume profile point of control. That's that shaded area surrounding that thick red line on our chart. So around 72 or so, that's a key downside area. That's about where we hit our lows on Friday and then bounced here. Now we're within this triangular shape here, this rising wedge type shape, a more modest slope than what we previously saw. We broke through that downward or that upward sloping trend line there in blue here. Now the next stop to the upside, the other volume node near 78, potentially here. So, and to think about the options market here, 58,000 options contracts traded here, more skewed toward the call side, 66% calls. In terms of call volume, 70 to 80. In terms of puts, 70 to 77 is where most of the trading took place here. Now, open interest, if we were to look at our next chart here, total open interest, 1.25 million for all the expirations in this name, 63% are calls. When we look at July monthlies, it's about 180,000 options. Once again, 60% calls or so. About 15% is of the total open interest for this whole stock. So this is kind of one of those feast or famine stocks where most of the open interest is concentrated only a few months. We've got this July, but also August, December, January, and June. That's where most of the open interest is. So expected move, our shaded area there, 70 to 78 by that Friday expiration here. And we can see that on the call side, most of the activity in terms of open interest, 60 to 90, those are our light green lines. Our dark green line, 75, is where there's the most. And if we were to go to our next chart there, then we could see that on the put side, we can see that we have a bit of a different situation here, but some of these same levels, once again, 60 to 75 is the general range here, while that 70 level is the highest open interest puts here. So 60 and 70 really, were standout levels here, 75 especially too.
And that seems to be right in range. Right now, they're trading at 73.87, having a good day on that upgrade from Seaport, up 3.5%. Were there any noticeable trades that you saw on this news since the shares are responding well?
Somewhat. I mean, not in terms of what we would talk about on Options Corner typically. In this case, the biggest single trade I saw, a 700 lot of the March 20th, 62 and a half puts. They paid 335 debit for that. So that's like $234,000. But to me, it looked like a closing trade. There was a similar trade previously for a similar volume here. So perhaps that was more of someone closing out short puts rather than going long to open here on a bearish play. So other than that, though, a lot of activity around the 75 strike in the July expirations here. Pretty much what you'd expect. Not really a ton of other standout trades.
Well, Rick, we appreciate you breaking it all down for us and showing us the levels to watch. That's Rick Ducat.